I am Brady Pelton. I serve as Vice President and General Counsel for the North Dakota Petroleum Council. Happy to serve this afternoon as MC. Before we start our program, I want to recognize more of our sponsors. Thank you to our silver sponsors, 3S Services, Border States Electric, Crowley Fleck PLLP, Delta Constructors, Go Wireline, Man Energy Services, ND Energy Services, Precision Completion and Production Services, Tallgrass Water North Dakota, and Targa Resources Corporation. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Your support is very much appreciated. We couldn't put on this annual meeting without you. Please help me thank our silver sponsors. We will now hear about North Dakota's Grand Energy Initiative. This discussion will be led by Brent Sanford, consultant with the Office of Workforce and Economic Development at Bismarck State College. The other members of this esteemed panel include Dr. Steve Holen, Superintendent of Watford City Public Schools and the Bakken Area Skills Center, and Kenley Nebeker, Executive Director of Train ND Northwest. Please help me welcome our next panel.
North Dakota's energy industry powers the region and the state's economy. VSC's Office of Workforce and Economic Development is launching Grand Energy in response to North Dakota's need for innovative skilled workers.
Through partnership training and education, Grand Energy will create a pipeline of skilled technicians and mechanics who can enter the workforce today and adapt to tomorrow's challenges.
Using Bismarck State College's business and industry leadership team model, Grand Energy will be at the forefront of skilled workforce education.
Bismarck State College is a trusted workforce development partner. Their comprehensive training and education programs help us fill critical workforce gaps and accelerate our team's productivity.
Solving workforce shortages is our mission. Through effective communication and strategic messaging, we help you attract new talent and strengthen your workforce pipeline. Grand Energy is part of our broader Polytechnic mission, which aims to prepare students with the skills and knowledge necessary for today's high-demand careers. Together, we're not just filling jobs, we're building North Dakota's future. With grit and determination, we will forge a stronger, more resilient workforce that powers our great state forward.
All right, welcome to Watford City. Brent Sanford here. I would be remiss to not thank you all for building this house that Oil built, the Rough Rider building in Watford City, my former job as mayor of Watford City. I can tell you, when our sales tax went up 50 times, that's 50x, not 50%, 50 times, it created the opportunity to build a facility like this. So thank you for this industry providing such a blessing for this area, and we have a lot more work to do. So what we're doing today is rolling out to the group, those of you that haven't heard about Grand Energy. And I think this is the first time I've been on a panel the last couple years without Kevin Black on the panel, so I'll just start talking about him, but he is a lot to blame for what we're doing here today. Kevin was leading a group with the higher ed, he's on State Board of Higher Ed, and he and Bernell Herning from Williston State were leading a group, a focused group on energy to help fulfill the Chancellor's mission for Envision 2035. What's the higher ed system supposed to do? What are they being asked to do? What do they need to do for North Dakota, for our industries for the next 11 or 12 years? And the breakout session for energy was very simple. Brent Lonis was on the group, and I can remember him very clearly saying, don't worry about innovation or research or anything like that. We've got that. EERC is great. We're doing innovation and energy research on our own. What we need is people. What we need higher ed system to worry about is skilled workforce, and we're at an existential crisis. So thank you, Brent, for that impetus as well. And from that came an opportunity that I jumped on board with Bismarck State, President Jensen, John Carroll is the man on the video. Alicia Udy is here, I believe, Dean for Automation and Energy and all things that you all know and love from Bismarck State and these programs. And jumped in with this team of what can we do about providing more trained workforce into the upper northwest part of the state, into the western part of the state where the oil and gas operates, because a model that we had seen in Bismarck was the Career Academy system with the Bismarck Public Schools feeding into their system of higher ed with Bismarck State, and degrees called Instrumentation and Controls are where you get a degree, you go work in the coal plants, in the utility industry, and this is a well-worn path in Bismarck. So how do we create a path like that in Western North Dakota? So that brings us to today with the esteemed colleagues on the stage here, with Dr. Holen, with Kenley. So we have Bismarck State has programs such as automation, such as power plant maintenance, as mechatronics, automation, robotics, SCADA systems, electrical systems. How do we deploy that closer to where the workforce is at? I'm trying to see if the screen is up. Can they see the screen, do you know? There we go. So how do we deploy these types of degrees closer to the Bakken? And the concept of Grand Energy was jumped into with Bismarck State, and then immediately we came to Dr. Holen with the beautiful new building that the board was reviewing yesterday afternoon, 4 o'clock, the Bakken Area Skills Center. The Bakken Area Skills Center came about, he'll talk about that later, but with basically legislative intent to not only provide career technical education for K-12 students, but also for adult learning, for reskilling, for upskilling in a lot of these areas. So that is a large in part of the intention, we believe, for the legislative intent for those funds that were received. And then to the right of Steve is Kenley from Train ND, who most of the people in this room know what Train ND can provide up in Williston, with a spectacular facility to provide that hands-on training, and have provided a lot of training for a lot of folks for many years. So basically with that, would like to announce that Grand Energy, already had a lot of questions in the room. Grand Energy is a collaboration. It's not just Bismarck State, and it's certainly not going to be only Bakken Area Skills Center. It's looked at as more of a collaboration. We're trying to actually break down those walls that exist between the K-12 system, the CTE system, the higher ed system in our state, the 2-year schools, the 4-year schools. And so what the three of us could envision would be, why not have a partnership with Petroleum Engineering from UND? Why not have a partnership with EERC? Why not have a partnership with STEM degrees from Dickinson State, Minot State, you name it? This should be a collaborative effort to help you, our industry, our leading industry for tax generation, tax growth, and economics in our state, for providing that product to you of trained workforce personnel, and have it be a collaborative venture. So this is very much on the front end. There is work being done now, today, at the Bakken Area Skills, but we have great hopes for the future. And the ask that the three of us will have is that the next piece that's needed here is not just more higher ed partners, not just more K-12 and CTE partners, but industry partners. So the ask today is you let us know what you need. And there's a lot of relevant programs that Kenley has been deploying over the years, a lot of relevant programs that Bismarck State has been deploying over the years. But the sky's the limit with what could happen over at Bakken Area Skills, being right here in the middle of where your workforce is at. And we're very flexible and looking forward to hearing from you what those exact needs are. So thank you for being here. And next I'll turn it over to Dr. Holen.
Thank you, Brent. Again, thank you to the Petroleum Council. They've been a tremendous partner. You've seen me or heard me at these conferences for many years, and I appreciate you putting up with that. But they've continued to support this initiative. It really does go back many years. And it took a while, obviously, to get to where we are now, to have a facility. But even more than the facility, I don't want to focus on the facility, it's really the programming. It's that we have students in programs taking classes. We have over 300 students taking classes in a variety of areas that are now more aligned to workforce, more relevant to them with hands-on experiences. I think what the vision was all along. And we're excited about Grand Energy because I think as soon as this came along, I said, well, this is what we're here for. It seems like the perfect fit. This was part of a vision we had a long time to be a connecting point. Personally, as a school district, which has been great working with our industry partners, we've had a lot of the same narrative which has been workforce for many years. It seems like the unsolvable mystery that we couldn't quite wrap our hands around. And I think for us, it's like we really want to take a run at this. If we're going to provide a solution, we're going to have sustainability, we need to make this work. And we think we have a model now. I think the challenge has been, there's been a lot of really good things happening, but they're not connected. They're somewhat done in isolation, and because of that, we're not really moving the ball as fast as we should. So we're coming into this to partner with everybody and anybody. We love to partner with Grand Energy. We're partnering with Wilson State. We're partnering with Train ND. We're not being proprietary. We're going wherever there's a service provided that we can provide to students. And that's our motto. And that's sometimes a challenge. But at the end of the day, that's what we delivered when we promised our patrons that we're going to bring services here and opportunities here for our students in our region that aligns to what they need to do to be valued employees and citizens in the future. So we really believe now we're at that point of it's beyond the talk and the philosophical and the theoretical piece. Now it's action items. We want to start generating data and numbers that can go back to HR departments and say this is what's happening out here. People ask me a lot. You can see the programs and the pathways we have. We're excited about those because I think even 2 years ago we didn't know how quickly maybe we'd get some of those going, but it's exciting that they're there. We're finding instructors. They told us you'll never find teachers. You'll never find people that are willing to for that pay to come in and teach these classes. We found them. So we're proud that we're offering these. We're going to continue to build the numbers. We have the Coming Soon programs. We really need to develop that energy technology, petroleum energy pathway, but we need help. We don't want to do it in a silo. We don't want to do it from our perspective. We want it to come from where it should come from, which is the industry's perspective. So that's kind of why it's coming soon, because we now have to develop those partnerships and come from you what this should look like. There's been trips to Hobbs, New Mexico. That's always been a model that we've emulated a little bit. We want it to look like that. We are a CTE center, but we have an energy at heart. We don't deny that. We are ag, we're everything else too, but there's no question we're here with an energy vision. We're going to continue to do that. So as we move forward, and you can look at, again, the regional piece, we're starting to grow those numbers, 377 students currently. That's a good number for us in year one. We had a soft launch in January, a half year. It's hard to get going. Year one, 377. We've had a very positive response. Those numbers are going to increase rapidly as we get buy-in. People understand what a remote model looks like. Getting those equipment out to school districts with our trailers, and then bring them into these centers for competency days, which our vision is to have industry people here performing those competencies, ready to give a nice certificate and get a nice photo op with those students saying, look who got a certificate, look who's heading off to this business once they graduate from high school. And we think that's just a very easily deliverable model to do. So we're excited about our schools. We're going to hopefully expand to that very soon. We are going to be a Northwest presence. We're going to work very closely with the Southwest and really become a Western North Dakota. Where you guys are doing business is where we're doing business. And it's hard. Sometimes 3,000 high school students are in our group, in our region that you have a reach on. And again, when they ask, what's the student response been? It's been positive. These students are open to ideas. When you get them in those environments and they have opportunities to seek these, they are open-minded more than they were 10 years ago, more than they were 15 years ago. I think the model's changing. We just have to take advantage of that now. And part of it is they just need to see these things firsthand. So the work-based learning experiences, we have a number that are in experience, but what we need to do now, we have 2 full-time employees that are work-based learning coordinators that are designed to take calls from you and say, what can you do for me? What do I need to do next? What would you like? Well, we'd like to have a couple job shadows, apprenticeships. We're willing to do career builders. We're willing to put investment in students who have a skill set that we think can be long-term employees. Great. That's our job. We'll go and find them for you. We need to get you in Golden Path solutions so that you can communicate with these students, find out who's out there, and we'll connect the dots for you. And then the deliverable will be hopefully actual employees. And they might be on the younger side. They might be 18, 19. but that's probably about the best we can do. But at the minimum, they've been lined up for training or otherwise, they're in your circle. And if you talk to students, once they've been in that circle, they're very impressionable. If they had a very good impression on an industry day for a particular company, you're surprised how much that actually sticks with a student and their parent. And so we find out in this very small sample size, this works. It's just a matter of actually now doing it and doing it more often. And in that way, I don't think it's inevitable. There's going to be more students entering these areas because they are aware and they're not uneducated on what these look like. So we're excited about those, but what we want to continue to do is, you see the one line about One Oak and the student, that kind of fell out of a One Oak day was a pilot that came out of there with an apprenticeship that didn't exist before. And I think was really one of our success stories early. A very good student who's going to BSc in automation, who's going to be tied up to an apprenticeship experience that it seems like everybody's been in a win-win so far. And it happened all by my happenstance. And now it can be systematic. And I hope that's what Grand Energy is going to do. It's going to make that a systematic process of aligning those students. Because we're excited. We have good students. And they're very skilled in these areas. They just need the direction. So here's the contact information for our work-based learning coordinators. We do have, there's a director. It's a little confusing. We own the Bakken Skills Center, and I'm always going to be involved, the good, bad, or otherwise, until they force me not to be. But Dr. Heckeman has been hired as the regional director, and he's going to be taking over a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I have a regular job as the McKenzie County School District Superintendent with 2,300 students. So it was time for somebody else to kind of take the run. So Dr. Heckeman's here as a daily presence. We have our work-based learning coordinators. We have a staff. That investment's been made. Please keep them busy. Please bother them. Please call them and return calls and align them to people they need to talk to if they got the wrong person. So we're very serious about that, and we want to make sure we can start those conversations and start having some of those stakeholder meetings as soon as possible. So if anything, if you reach out and find out how to sign up, how to get involved, how do I get into a database that some students will see, ask questions of them, can reach out, that's all in place. That exists today. We just need you to be part of that now and sign up, and they'll be happy to walk you through at any time. The next part is, again, where we're going with this, again, it's adult ed, it's all those classes. We had the operator class that ran through One Oak and Conoco. I think they were happy with the results. They're going to do it again. We are happy to facilitate that at all means. Those adult ed pieces trickle down to the K-12. Eventually there'll be an operator section or unit in our class, in our energy pathway, that they'll be exposed to a little bit earlier. So we're working those things through, the safety components. We work through those as well. We're just very much open. I think we want to, just the disclaimer, we didn't come into this just to service our own needs and kind of advertise haphazardly that, yeah, we're here for workforce. It's almost a little bit of the other. We have a new high school. We're pretty good shape. This was really an effort in the bigger vision to sustain quality of life in Western North Dakota, because without it, our numbers are not going to stay where they are. We want a solid school base. We've invested. That depends on a workforce and families and the industry sustaining. So that's our skin in the game. But anyway, that's kind of my pitch. Excited to be up in front of you. Excited that we can report on actual tangible outcomes. And I want to be back next year, if not up here. But you can look at data sheets and start seeing measurable outcomes. I know that's big. We want to deliver. But again, we need to know what to deliver. And if you don't tell us what to deliver, sometimes we might deliver the wrong thing. So we want you to please be a partner in that way. It's not a financial obligation. It's now just help us help you. So anyway, I'll turn it over to Kenley now with his face.
Thanks, Steve. I want to commend Steve for the amazing work that he's done here with the Bakken Area Skills Center. I've had the opportunity to watch it kind of come to fruition over the last 6 years, and just a super impressive facility. And I will support what he said, that he's not just giving lip service to what they want to offer. They really do want to offer great things. And I think that's one of the things that's got me excited about this Grand Energy piece, and really on two levels. 6 years ago, I came to North Dakota, didn't know oil and gas from potato farming, which is what I grew up doing, but I had the opportunity. The first thing that I worked on was the One Basin, One Way initiative here with North Dakota Petroleum Council. And when we started that, so many people told us, you will never get multiple companies to come together and agree on safety concepts. It will never happen. You're dreaming. And I think sometimes life is about timing, and the timing was right, and we were able to accomplish the One Basin, One Way initiative, and it continues to make a difference today. That same approach here that we took in One Basin, One Way of curing some of the ills that higher ed sometimes falls into, which is a lot of times higher ed says to industry, here's what we will do for you. That's not the right model. The right model is, what can we do for you? And that's what I loved about the One Basin, One Way initiative, is we took that approach of what can we do for you and how can we make this work. And this Grand Energy approach is very much that same idea. And you've heard it from two others, and I'll just add a third nail in the coffin here, that we want to know what you need and how we can go about making it happen. That's our whole purpose here as an educational system to train your workforce. So I'm really excited to be a part of that. The other part that I'm really excited about is the cooperation, the opportunity to cooperate together and really work as a group to make this happen. And so as the Executive Director of Train ND Northwest, it's my privilege to serve the workforce based out of Williston, but the whole Northwest region, and really a focus on the energy industry, specifically the oil and gas industry. We are the workforce training arm of Williston State College, so we have a connection with them. And we've been around since 1999, so we're pretty well established. We have a mission to boil down our mission. It's ultimately to make sure that we use our expertise to make sure people go to work with the knowledge they need to be successful and to come home safe at the end of the day. And I really can't think of anything more important to be doing with my life than that. To give you an idea of our impact on the state, looking between 2010 and 2020, during that decade, we trained over 86,000 people. We served over 4,000 companies. We held over 11,000 training sessions, and we had over 1.17 million contact hours during that decade. Strictly working with the workforce, trying to make sure that you all have the people that you need to make things work. Our pathways include a technical pathway, a safety pathway, leadership, and then we also do custom courses. And I think that's one of the things that I want to make sure is very clear. In any of us, in our conversations, we're very interested in knowing what you need, and if we don't have it, we will build it.
Just one quick note on that as well, just the alignment. Mackenzie County #1, Watford City High School. We've made a transition in our high school programming to align to this. We are now moving most of our required classes to the freshman, sophomore year. One of the challenges with certifications and even working with Train ND is, it doesn't always fit the model. They're built for 8-week classes. And we still have the old system of 50-minute periods and everything else. We get kind of tied into that model. We're trying to adapt to that. So then there's nothing saying a student can't take for 6 weeks a class and then switch at 6 weeks. And some, principals would almost, that blows their mind, that we just can't operate that way. That's not how it's done. But we're trying to develop a model where, that yes, you can. I mean, junior, senior year, it is built around that. There's a flexibility model involved with that, so we can adapt to those type of environments. They can take 3-4 certifications and add it together. That can be a semester, just like you can stack them to get a dual credit. So we're trying to be in that mode as well. And so we're all in on that. The student wins. They're still getting a high-quality education. It's just not in the, again, that traditional model. So, again, whatever it might be, we think we can meet that challenge. It doesn't have to fit into that kind of mold like it used to.
Couple gaps. I don't know if we have questions out there. We could take questions, but just listening to Kenley and Steve, we want to put an exclamation point on that this concept is for adult ed and retraining, reskilling, upskilling, all of those words as well. So you probably know Kenley's offering has generally more been for adult ed, new employees, upskilling, reskilling. But with the Bakken area skills, Steve is trying to thread that needle with high school kids, but also the adult ed piece. And one way that he's mentioned is if there's someone looking at doing a gift in kind of equipment that you use, maybe it's your last generation, but similar to what your newest generation of equipment is, and donate that to the Basque. So Steve's point is, if these kids are working on things that they see once they go to work, how much better that becomes for them as a new employee. So there's all kinds of options, but just knowing that we're trying to crack this continuum from 8th grade to 10th, 11th, 12th grade to young adult learners, young adult employees, and then adult employees that need to have some reskilling going on since we're all going to automation, that we're looking for all of this to be potentially under the umbrella at the Bakken area skills. And Steve also jokes that I've already said too many times they're going to have to expand. You listen to Alicia from Bismarck State, we need a couple more bays to do this program and this program, so that'd be a good problem to have. But that all depends on you utilizing the facility. So we've got 3 minutes left. If there's any questions, we could actually take questions. Otherwise, we'll just move on to the next panel and get you out of here earlier. Oh, Danita has a question from the State Board of Higher Ed. Let's get ready.
Thank you. So I'm a huge fan of the entire Grand Energy, and I also know that Dr. Armacost is in the audience. Wave, Dr. Armacost. I guess the part that I'm curious about is we have a workforce issue on the West, and how might you see collaboration with some of the things that UND, EERC doing, as well as some of the other institutions? So I'm just curious about kind of long-term strategy.
Well, this is a statewide issue as well, and so projects I'm working on at Bismarck State include UAS. So then if you talk to Grand Sky, Sky Range, how is UND going to help them with automation employees and technicians to fix the drones and load the payload? I mean, there's different issues statewide. But obviously with petroleum engineering and EERC at UND, that's a natural partner for obviously for Grand Energy. And again, it'll be based on what the industry is asking for. If there's something that needs closer attention, bring those students out here earlier, put them in the field. If this is a place of operation for that, very open to that. Have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that I'm interested to see what it looks like for us to give students from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south, options to do whatever it is that they want to do within the state. There's a lot of conversations about, well, we've got to keep our students in the west, and we've got to keep our students in the east, And to some extent, yes, you want people who know your area to stay there. But if some student from Williston wants to go to Grand Forks and work for Grand Sky, why should they not have that option? Why should that not be a possibility? If somebody from Fargo wants to come here and work in the oil and gas industry, why should they not have that opportunity and the state provide that educational pathway for them? And I think that's what I'm really interested and excited to see.
Any more questions? Thanks, Danita. All right, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. We'll move on to the next one.